Welcome to the Multiplayer Podcast Bonus Round. We're a video game podcast where we review a new game each week, and this is our new midweek episode. Today we are talking about our favorite consoles. And as always and forever, I'm joined by Paul.
Yo, what's up, guys?
And Josh.
Always and forever.
And with our powers combined,
This is why I'm not a singer.
we're the Multiplayer Podcast. All right, guys, here we are, midweek. What are your favorite consoles? Or console? One. Only one console.
Ooh.
Out of all of them.
Do I get
So
to
many
go
good
first?
No. All right. So Josh is really old, so we just assumed he's going to pick Atari. So,
Hey.
Paul, do you want to go first?
Age before beauty. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, all right. Well, it is as finally as I remember Atari, and I was really excited to get the first Atari. That was when they had graphics, guys. It is not my pick. My pick for favorite console is the illustrious Nintendo 64, baby. The best
Solid pick.
of the best.
It's a solid pick. Why?
It's gotta be the lineup of games. Like, honestly, it's hard not to be fond with some of the more recent consoles and some of the more recent games that are out. But when you look at the golden age of gaming, the one thing that I think of is GoldenEye.
Yep.
Right? I mean, GoldenEye, Nintendo 64. Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Nintendo 64. Mario Kart, Nintendo 64.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Super Mario 64. You sensing a theme here? It's just, these are like the iconic games, man, that started a lot of these franchises. Don't get me wrong, if I went back and played it right now, I'd probably be appalled. And then be like, wait a minute, what was I thinking? But for favorite console, that is hands down my easy number one pick.
This is a little bit off topic, but I have to mention it. Today, I just saw a clip where a modder took all of Mario Odyssey and made modded content for Mario 64. So you can throw a hat onto like an enemy and then become that enemy, but it's all like Mario 64. Like they modded the game and made a completely new remade game of Mario Odyssey, and I can't imagine how much time that must have taken him, but it looks gorgeous. If you think Mario 64 is gorgeous.
At the time.
I mean, Mario 64 really is a timeless game. I mean, you can still play it now, even without mods. It's still fun. I think one of the reasons the 64 does hold up really well is that even though it's like, I don't know, a 22, 23-year-old system, the animation style has probably aged a lot better than like PS1.
Yeah.
Yeah, the controller's a little wonky on the 64. I mean, that's probably the worst part about it. But, I mean, the list of games just goes on and on. We talked about Pod Racer, remember? The remake in Pod,
that's true.
Pod Racer, Nintendo 64. It's just there's so many games that I just remember fondly, and I think part of that is that those are games that you played with your friends sitting on your couch with like multiple controllers, or they brought their Nintendo 64s over too. Like, I can't tell you how many like late nights me and my buddies would play GoldenEye on a tiny like 19-inch TV with and you've got 4 square. Because you're 4 people on one TV, so you had like a 4-inch like window to try to see your guy.
Then like, no one can pick Objob. That's cheating.
Yeah, and Objob was banned. I think maybe that's why I have like bad eyesight now, man. It's just squinting at those tiny little screens playing GoldenEye. But yeah, I'll maybe if we have time, I'll get to an honorable mention later on. But that's my pick. Sorry, you guys lose. We win.
I guess if you had to be nitpicky, you had mentioned the controllers being wonky. Not just that, but those controllers broke all the time. I mean, seriously, how many 64 controllers did you go through?
A lot.
I think I went through like 7 or 8.
But that was the one that you gave to your friends too, though.
You'd have the broken one that was it was like Shark brand, something that wasn't,
the Mad Cats
OEM. Mad Cats.
But do you remember how you had your favorite controller because you knew it was the best one? Like all the buttons worked, the sticks worked properly on it. Like
this is the only one where you can walk straight forward.
Yeah, and then you're like, here, man, you get the blue one. The white one's mine.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Paul, what do you have?
All right, so I knew Josh was going to go with Nintendo 64. I even had made a joke earlier today that whoever goes first is probably going to pick that. So my backup plan is Nintendo GameCube, and the GameCube launched in a very special time of my life. It was when I was young, but I had a job, so I had money, but I had no responsibilities. And that was the time when gaming really became a part of my everyday life. The first console that I owned was the 64, but it was still something that I don't even think I played every day. It was something that I played with friends, but most of my time I was playing basketball or riding my bike or doing something else. When the GameCube came out, I had just started dating my eventual wife, Nikki, and her siblings and cousins were always over every day at her house, and we would all get together and play 4-player co-op games, 4-player versus games just every single day. And with the GameCube, it's kind of funny because it hasn't been too terribly often that my wife's gotten mad at me, but one of the very clear times I do remember her getting mad is right after the GameCube launched. And me and my friend Andy ditched going to youth group to stay home and play GameCube. And when Nikki found out that's why I had ditched, she was not very happy. So, that's how much I loved playing GameCube. But, similar to 64, I mean, the Nintendo exclusives back then were just incredible. You have to think about this is probably unpopular opinion alert, but my favorite Zelda game wasn't Ocarina of Time. It was the Wind Waker. Have you guys ever played Wind Waker?
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite.
I played it through it on GameCube when it first came out, and I also had bought it remastered on, I think it was the Wii U. And it was just such a fun game. It was so charming. I loved the music. That game was incredible. We would all take turns playing, and we would just watch each other play Wind Waker. It was the best of the Smash Brothers games. The first one did come out on 64, but Smash Brothers Melee was, in my opinion, the best one. That was really when people started doing tournaments. And I remember we had, even organized some with me and my friend groups where you would, put out that playoff bracket and you would go 1-on-1 and you would whittle it down to have a winner. And that was incredible. And it was the first console with Animal Crossing. Right, Josh? Your favorite franchise?
Paul, for those listening, Paul just keeps trolling me about Animal Crossing, man, because I just refuse to even play it, and I know that's me being stubborn. And my wife loves it; she's playing it right now, But yeah, it's just not my game. Metroid Prime, man, for GameCube, that was another. I mean, I loved that game, so that's a really solid choice.
Critically beloved.
I think it's overlooked, to be honest with you. Like, I think, everybody remembers the GameCube, but I think people tend to forget, like you said, kind of the heyday of the GameCube.
Yeah, so. I mean, I had a couple friends that had a GameCube, but that's probably the one console I haven't really owned that Nintendo's launched. Like, I had a 64, had a Wii, even had a Wii U, and, like, now I have a Switch, so, like, I skipped over it, but apparently I shouldn't have.
Yes, and I want to give a special shout out to Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2.
Oh man,
Monkey Ball with friends was incredible. And my wife, for whatever reason, was like a world-class monkey fight player. That was the mode where your monkey would have those boxing gloves and you'd have to try to punch each other off of the island. And I probably played 700 rounds with Nikki, and I probably won like 4 of them. I don't know what it was with her, but she could destroy me in that.
That's funny.
Yeah, Super Monkey Ball was great. And saving the best for last, The GameCube had one of the most unique and most fun games that I've ever played, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem.
Oh!
I know Josh loved it.
Dude, that game, I forgot about that game.
Yeah. Pinnacle of the GameCube, if you ask me. Have you ever played it, Todd? Or have you heard of it?
No, absolutely no.
So when you think of the GameCube, you mostly think about, more of the kid-friendly games, but they did have a couple that were more mature. Resident Evil 4 started off as a GameCube exclusive, and they also came out with Eternal Darkness, which was a psychological horror third-person puzzle fighter. It was incredibly unique. And basically in the game, you start off as a woman whose grandfather or great uncle or something had been murdered. And as you start reading through these journals in the house, it takes you through different timelines where you learn about all of these different forms of magic. And one of the really neat things in this game was the puzzle solving was fun, but the combat was really unique because you would lock onto an enemy and then it would light up a body part and you could move and you could aim for their feet or for their head or for their arms. And that was the first game I remember ever having that, in a third person perspective. But then I think what everyone thinks of when they think of Eternal Darkness is the sanity meter. So in the game, you would run... Yeah, maybe that would, spark people's memory if they weren't familiar with the title. But if you came in contact with monsters, your sanity would slowly go down, and you would start to hallucinate things. You would start to hear crying in the distance. You would get a fake screen saying, deleting memory card A, and you would get a status meter, do not turn off your system. And then it would come back and your character would be breathing really heavy and you'd realize that they were just hallucinating. And that game was really freaky and incredibly unique. There's never been a game like it. The video game developer went bankrupt right after, so they never got to develop anything else. But man, that was the GameCube at its best.
I love that game. And the sanity meter was just awesome, man. I remember it would turn your screen off or make it think that your screen turned off. It would turn your volume down.
Yeah,
you would have the volume meter and it would start going down until it was just silent. And then you'd be like, what the heck, man? You'd grab the TV remote, start turning it back up, and then realize that it was the game that was doing that, not the TV. And that had a lot of really, really cool features to that. I forgot all about that until you mentioned that, man.
Yeah, you'd have blood would start to pour out the walls and stuff. That was a crazy game.
It really was. I forgot that was GameCube too. So that's one of the top games right there, man.
Yeah. Again, critically loved, but it kind of went under the radar.
All right, Todd Lee.
All right. Are you guys ready?
Let's see if Todd picks what I think he's going to pick.
It's not.
Should we guess? Because I thought Todd was going to pick Xbox.
I thought he was going to go 360.
It is the Wii U. Are you kidding me? Pikmin 3? Come on. They brought it back?
This is your worst troll yet. No one's buying this.
No one's buying it. Okay. All right. I literally on my screen right now have a two very long lists that I kept on reading back and forth trying to decide. And I ended with the Xbox 360.
Great system.
Who knows you best, Todd? Who knows you best?
It was it was in between the Xbox and Xbox 360.
All right, so we were both right there.
So I'm looking at this list of games and it's all the games I love on the 360, the first iteration of that game was on the Xbox, and it only just got better for the 360. And then looking at what sets the 360 apart from PlayStation or even the original Xbox, and the exclusives for it was Left 4 Dead, Fable 2, which was a great game, Halo 3, ODST, Reach, and I think 4. And every single one of those Halo games were amazing, and I sunk so many hours into it. Gears of War 2, Dead Rising, they're all just Red Dead Redemption, yeah. And then Mass Effect, Paul.
Oh yeah.
I knew that one would get you.
Yeah, I played it through several times on 360 until it came out on PC years later. What about Alan Wake? Did you ever play that on 360?
I didn't.
No, I never
What's
did
that?
either.
That was a really unique game where you were like a writer with writer's block, and it was almost like a Stephen King novel where you were like alone on an island and weird things would happen and you'd run around with your flashlight and like solve various puzzles. That I was just curious if either of you played it.
Were the BioShock games 360 exclusive? I think they were. I don't think they were PlayStation.
I'm not sure.
Because that was a really good series too. I know they were PC, but I don't remember if they were on PlayStation.
They were on PS3 and 360.
Okay.
Like Skyrim was on the 360 console. Like that was when Modern Warfare and Black Ops came out. Like all these games are just groundbreaking games. Like whatchamacallit, GTA 5 came out on the 360. We just picked up GTA 5 again. Like that game is still continuing from like the 360 or at least like this time period. So like I was stuck because like there are all these amazing games, and then it's like, you know, what sets it apart from the PlayStation 3, because a lot of these games are on both. And if you look at the exclusives for the PlayStation 3, they had Gran Turismo, God of War, and then
Heavy Rain. That was an
yeah.
exclusive for PS3. And the PS3 could play Blu-rays. That was a huge bonus.
Are you kidding me? Xbox had the what was it? HD
DVD? Wasn't that what it was called? Remember the big Blu-ray versus the boy? They lost that one.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, they picked the wrong horse. But I mean, those games compared to Fable, Halo, Mass Effect, Gears of War, Dead Rising, Left 4 Dead, like Heavy Rain isn't enough to.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
That's
I just
a good
can't
pick.
Yeah, I can't believe none of us went for any of the PlayStations. I came very close to picking PS4.
That's actually my honorable mention that I was going to mention at the
on my list. I have PlayStation 2, Need for Speed Underground. That was I sunk a lot of hours into that game, and I learned a lot about popular rap music from that game.
I was never into the Need for Speed games. I played a few of them, but none very in depth. Yeah, PS4. I had a tough time between the N64 and that one, but obviously the N64 won out. But man, God of War 4 is one of my favorite games of all time. Red Dead Redemption 2. The Last of Us. There's so many really good games for the PS4.
Yeah, it's definitely a heavy hitter. And you know, PS2, if you had asked me, you know, what was the best console, I probably would have gone PS2 with just such a leap in technology and graphics. I mean, the Metal Gear Solid games, if you guys played those when they first released, I mean, that was completely mind-blowing. You know, having movie quality cutscenes and, you know, really in-depth games with, you know, all the GTA games. And, you know, the PS2 was an incredible console, but the Nintendo ones just have a very special place in my heart.
I feel like PlayStation 2 struggled with online compared to Xbox. Xbox had a built-in port in it for Xbox Live. And then the PS2, you had to buy an expansion pack for it and then a CD to download the driver, and then from there you could, but it never like worked well. And I know like Halo 2 worked wonderful and matchmaking was great, and like I never had any issues, but I always had problems trying to get my PlayStation 2 online.
Yeah, it's funny to me, man. Like even to this day, you still hear about like the console wars. You've got the PlayStation fans and the Xbox fans, and you know, if you were loyal to PlayStation, man, you really would just fight for that. And then if you were loyal to Xbox, you'd fight for that. And I just don't get it, man. Like, I just want to play the games. You know, like exclusives are great. They sell consoles, but like they both have amazing games.
I had friends where we would swap systems. So I owned an Xbox 360 and my buddy Curtis had a PS3. And every couple months we would just say, "Oh, are you done playing games? Well, so am I. Let's just swap." And then you would just, rent whatever the exclusives were from Blockbuster and go knock them out. And yeah, I was never one to be like anti one console over the other. Just generally, I could only own one console, but you always had at least one friend who had the others.
Yeah.
I just stuck with the one that had Halo. Like it's easy. I mean, that's a very strong exclusive to have on your platform.
That's the whole reason I bought an Xbox. Honestly, is Halo. When Halo launched, the initial one, I was like, I'm in. I'm saving my money. I'm buying it. It was expensive as a kid. This is not something your parents were gonna just spring for you. You had to earn that thing.
I sold my PlayStation 2 to buy an Xbox and Halo, and that's the only game I owned for a while. And it's because one of my friends had a LAN party where a couple people brought their Xboxes and we all played Halo, and it was so much fun. I sold my PlayStation 2 and bought one.
Did you ever
no regrets?
Did you ever have a Red Ring of Death on your Xbox?
360? Absolutely. Yeah.
I had that
I guess,
as well.
Did you do the towel method to overheat it?
No, I sent mine in, and they said I got.
So for mine, it was something where like I didn't qualify for whatever, or like I couldn't send it in. So I bought the like pack to add more whatchamacallit, goop onto the CPU to help with the heating.
Yeah.
Thermal paste, there we go. Not goop. And I accidentally, when I was trying to get a screw, scraped the motherboard, and then it never turned on again. But yeah, I did use the towel method, or I used the once I got it to turn on once, I just didn't shut it off for a week.
Oh, nice.
That was very effective. And then I think 1 week it just burned out, and then it, I could never get it back on.
Yeah, the towel method was just so funny. Even back then, it just sounded crazy when people were saying like, yeah, just wrap it in a towel, let it overheat, and it'll like melt some of the solder and make a better connection. Like, I think that was why people did it, which is just insane. Yeah. Like, you're literally just baking your Xbox. But, I don't know. It's just what people thought back then.
Yeah. I mean, it worked for a little bit.
How about worst system? Is there like a terrible system? Easy for Todd, huh?
Virtual Boy.
Nobody had Virtual Boy.
I had a neighbor. I had a neighbor that had Virtual Boy, and that like the game system has built-in pausing every, I think it's like 15 minutes, because your eyes would overstress and like your eyes would melt at the red lasers. So like the game would make you take a break.
That's funny. I would say, now, I'm going to quantify the Dreamcast for me. There were some good games for the Dreamcast. Soul Calibur, I can't tell you how many countless hours I spent playing Soul Calibur on the Dreamcast, but that one just didn't really do very well.
I almost bought one just for Crazy Taxi, because that was the only system that Crazy Taxi was on in the beginning.
Yeah.
Was it, I think it was PlayStation, the initial one, maybe two, that had the Twisted Metal games?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved those games, man.
Those were really fun, like Demolition Derby style
but
multiplayer.
You had like, they had like different classes. You had like fast little motorcycles that could like nuke people, but they couldn't take any damage. And then you had the big ice cream truck that was like a tank, and they don't make those kind of games anymore. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it, guys. Those are our favorite consoles, and a little bit about our least favorite consoles. We'd love to know what your favorite consoles are, or what you think of our favorite consoles. Mainly, if you think the 360 is best, you know, I get if you like the N64, and then Paul's probably just wrong.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, so let us know on Twitter, and then I guess we'll see you next week. See you guys.
See you, everybody.
It's me, Mario.